Hey everybody, Marcos Villegas here, being joined with Tom Loeffler, the Managing Director of K2 Promotions. Fight week almost upon us. Gennady Golovkin fighting on April 23rd on HBO, defending his middleweight title against Dominic Wade. And you revealed some big news that I want to get into. Gennady Golovkin now being a sponsored Jordan athlete. Tell me how that deal came about and when you guys realized that this would be a good fit for Gennady.
It was a dream for Gennady to be associated with Jordan. It's a Jordan family. We've been talking to the Jordan people really over a year now, and they've followed Gennady's career, and it was just the right timing to sign the deal, and they're very supportive. And Gennady, you know, that's his idol is Michael Jordan. And every time he watched basketball in Kazakhstan, he always saw, you know, the athletes with the Jordan shoes. He always thought, okay, they were the best athletes on the floor. So it's a dream come true for him. I think it's going to be a great brand association. Gennady is the best ambassador you could think of as a representative for a company. He represents his country, Kazakhstan, in the best light whenever he gets in the ring. And you know, with the fan base growing, and Jordan just saw the international appeal to working with Gennady, and he really appreciates it.
Was it Gennady that told you, like, hey, I love Jordan, I love his products, let's see if something can work, or was it your idea thinking like, hey, you know, I see a good fit there?
No, it was really natural from Gennady. I mean, we had gotten other offers, but we always tried to associate Gennady with the premium brands, and it's clear that Jordan is a global brand. It's the premium athletic wear brand, and that was really his direction. You know, after we were looking at different offers, and that's why we didn't want to rush into a deal. And it was just the right timing now, and we couldn't be more excited about it for this next fight.
So how's it all going to break down with Gennady being one of their athletes in terms of what they put out and what we can see from that product line?
Oh, he'll be wearing, they've been sending him products, so he's been wearing Jordan gear in training camps. You've seen at some of the other fights with their media workouts and things like that. But now he's an official Jordan athlete, so they'll design, you know, his boxing shoes, his wardrobe, you know, everything really that he trains in. He'll have all customized training gear, and that's a very important thing because you know, he was up there twice at the Jordan headquarters. They measured all of his body dimensions and everything like that. It's just it's a great association. They have a great marketing plan that they're going to look to you know, unfold in the next in the coming years, and it's going to be, I think it couldn't be a better fit for a representative of Jordan, and Jordan being the company that we were able to secure for Gennady's athletic wear.
I know there's people out there that are going to be asking, you know, what this entails in terms of time. How long is Gennady going to be an athlete? Can you say any sort of specifics on that?
Well, I can't really get into the specifics, but it's a multi-year deal. They wanted a long-term relationship. Gennady, you know, obviously wants to represent their brand as long as possible, and I think where Gennady's at right now, he just turned 34, but the best years and the best fights are clearly ahead of him. And I think everybody recognizes that. Everybody recognizes that every time he fights. You know, now he's filling arenas, before at Madison Square Garden, now at the Forum in Los Angeles. So it's not really one particular city where his popularity is at. It's really international, even when he fights over in Europe. We got great TV ratings and things of that nature. So I think Jordan really liked the international aspect of Gennady's career. You know, his grandfather was born in Korea. He has his roots from Kazakhstan and all the former Soviet countries. You know, he fought in Germany, so he has that real international appeal, and has become one of the most popular fighters here in America.
Did you get to meet Jordan yet?
You know, ironically, we did meet Michael Jordan, but it wasn't associated with the deal. It was before, when he was in New York for a press event, and Michael and Patrick Ewing were at a restaurant. We were there with Michael Buffer, so Michael had known them from previous shows, and he introduced Gennady and Michael Jordan and Patrick Ewing, and so it was a great meeting. It was like a dream come true for Gennady, and you know, he's met Carmelo Anthony a number of times for the Knicks, and he's sponsored by. He's a Jordan athlete, so it's a great association, and most importantly, it's the family atmosphere that Jordan brings with the relationship.
He's going to come to the fight. Did you guys go ahead and invite Michael to go?
He has a standing invitation. I don't know if he'll be able to make it, but the president of Jordan Brand is supposed to be there, and we're looking forward to to whoever else from the Jordan company that can be present for the fight.
Now let's talk the future. And the big fight that involves your man is a fight with Canelo Alvarez. Now, everybody wants to see the fight, but some are wondering as to when it's going to happen. In terms of you being on the business side, how does that go, like planning the future when that's kind of like an iffy thing, like you don't know exactly when and how it's going to go down? Well,
there's no question Gennady's priority. First, if he doesn't win April 23 against Wade, there's really no talks about future fights. He understands that. You might want to overlook something, and then if he has an off night, Wade's a young guy. He's undefeated. He's hungry. He wants Gennady's titles. He's the mandatory. It wasn't like we chose Wade. He was mandated by the IBF. So it's going to be a tricky fight for Gennady. At the same time, it's my job. If everything goes the right way, if he wins April 23, then Canelo. The interesting thing is then Canelo fights 2 weeks later. Billy Joe Saunders fights in between. He fights 1 week later. So you got all three middleweight champions fighting within a 3-week period. And but the WBC has mandated that the winner of, if Gennady is successful, the winner of Canelo and Khan has to fight Gennady, and that's really what his dream and his goal has been, is to add the WBC title to his collection. Whether it's, naturally everyone would want to see the Canelo fight. That's the biggest fight in the sport of boxing, not only from a revenue standpoint, but you got two, the top pound for pound guys fighting each other. And, Canelo now is in his prime. He I believe he's 26 or 25 now. So he's definitely in the prime of his career. And that's what we would look forward to. But you can't force someone to take the fight. If for whatever reason, and I can't speak for Canelo or for Oscar and Golden Boy, if they choose not to take the fight, then naturally there'll be consequences. And Gennady's the interim champion. He's been, he wanted to fight Sergio Martinez for the WBC title. That didn't work out. Then he wanted to fight Cotto. That didn't work out. So now, at some point, it has to come to a head, and that's where we're at right now. And honestly, that would be the biggest fight for Gennady.
What's the sell-by date for that fight, you feel?
For the fight to actually happen? September 17th. There wouldn't be a better date than Mexican Independence Day.
In terms of when it's no longer a fight that people really, really want to see. Is there one, or do you think there's always going to be interest as long?
There's always going to be interest as long as Canelo stays, in that division. He's fighting in the middleweight division, and as long as Gennady, stays. Gennady is a small middleweight. He weighs in at 159. There's no reason for him to move out of the division unless there's a big fight at 168 that comes up. But he can stay at middleweight for a long time. So if for some reason it doesn't happen now, I think that's one of those fights that'll only get bigger. But it just depends. It depends on how things go with Canelo. You never know if somebody gets injured. You never know if somebody has an off night and loses. Then it loses some of the luster. But as long as Canelo keeps winning and Gennady keeps winning, I think that'll be the biggest fight in the sport right now.
It seems the key detail for that fight is the weight. Gennady says it has to be at 160. Canelo says, I want it at 155. I'm the A side. I'm the champ. It has to be at 155. You coming into that situation, do you take the middle ground and say, hey, you're going to have to come down a little bit, Gennady. Canelo, you might have to come up a little bit. Or do you stick with the 160?
Well, it's under the agreement we have. It's under the WBC rules, and Canelo's the WBC middleweight champion. Gennady has the IBF and the WBA world titles, and is the WBC interim champion. So, per the WBC rules, that's what we'd stick by. If for some reason it doesn't happen now and it happens down the road, then anything's negotiable. But when you look at them outside of the ring, they're both. Canelo's a big guy when he gets in the ring. A lot of people say he's actually heavier than Gennady when he gets in the ring. But again, we can't really speculate what's going to happen. We can only follow the mandate from the WBC. We respect their rules, and that's the direction that we would go under. Naturally, if there's a way financially to make it work now, as opposed to to actually securing the fight, then we've always been flexible on Gennady's opponents, whether it's a David Lemieux fight, whether it's a Martin Murray fight, Matthew Macklin, even Daniel Geale, the former champion. We've always tried to get the best quality opponents that would actually agree to get in the ring with them, and like I said, Canelo and Gennady being in the top 10 pound for pound ratings, that would be a monster fight.
What do you think that fight does for Gennady if he secures that pay-per-view with Canelo?
I mean, we tried to get the Chavez fight 2 years ago. That would have launched him, on the pay-per-view platform, and really, he's had a meteoric rise in just over 3 years. He's, selling out Madison Square Garden, he's selling out arenas in LA. But a fight like Canelo, a fight like Chavez, a fight like Froch would have been over in the UK. I mean, those are just fights that put you on a whole different level. You have the mainstream media covering it, not just the sports media, not just the boxing media, and that's a fight on that level that would take his career to a whole different level. Now, Canelo, look what he did to Cotto, look what he did with Kirkland. I mean, Canelo, he's a big guy, and he can punch. And he's very experienced now, so that would be an interesting fight to see how that comes about. And certainly Canelo, there's no question, would be the toughest challenge that Gennady's ever faced.
I'm going to go ahead and switch topics. I want to touch on Klitschko. I know he's rematching Tyson Fury July 7th, I believe, in England. Is that correct?
It's actually, the working date is July 9th. There hasn't been anything official from our side. Vladimir's manager, Bern Bonte, has been talking with Mick Hennessy and with the Fury people, sorting out details. But I think you'll get the official announcement there from our side, within the next week or so. But both guys have agreed. That was part of the deal with the first fight, was the rematch, and Fury wants to prove he's the best heavyweight in the world. When you beat the best, automatically you're associated as the best heavyweight. So Fury is in that position now. Vladimir wants to prove it was an off night for him. He wants to take his titles back. He had worked so hard, with all those title defenses, and he wants to take his title back. So I think it's a much bigger fight now with the rematch than it was with the first fight, because everyone had Fury as a big underdog. And look what happened. I mean, it's the same thing like when people talk about, well, Wade's such a big underdog. If Gennady has, an off night, look what happened with Rosado when he had the flu on Thursday when he can barely breathe. You never know. Boxing, it's not like any other sport where you can have an off night and still win the world championship. If you have an off night and you lose your titles, then it's a long road back, and that's where Vladimir wants to prove that he's still the best heavyweight in the world today.
What have you heard from the camp in terms of that performance? Did they say anything about he just wasn't feeling it, he was off, was he going through something? Because it looked really weird. A lot of people say, oh, maybe he got old overnight, but what did you hear from the camp?
A guy like Vladimir, where he's been fighting for so long, look, when he was a champion for how many, 11, 12 years in a row, how many title defenses was that? To have one off night in such a long stretch, but it just didn't look like the Vladimir that we know, with his powerful jab, with that left hook off the jab that Emmanuel taught him, with the right hand rocking back and then throwing the right hand. I mean, he has such a variety of punches for as big of a guy as he is, and his speed. Sparring partners always say, I've never seen such fast hands for such a big guy, and. It just seemed like it was an off night. There really is. I'm sure Vladimir, has some reasoning for it, but for us, it looked like it wasn't the guy in there that we're used to seeing that could really hurt people with his jab and knock. Like, look what he did with Pulev with those left hooks. Those type of things is. That's the style that we're accustomed to seeing from Vladimir, and I think we'll see that in the rematch.
I can't wait for that matchup, in the matchup that's happening next weekend, April 23rd. You'll be.
Don't forget about Chocolatito is on April.
That's right, Chocolatito.
And whenever you can see the two best pound-for-pound fighters in the world on the same show, we got 1 and 2 with Chocolatito and Triple G. That's a great show, and he's fighting McWilliams Arroyo. He was he was in the Olympics for Puerto Rico. He's got 14 knockouts out of 16 wins. He's a big puncher, and that's going to be a great co-feature for Gennady. So it's going to be an amazing show, April 23 at the Forum.
It's a great atmosphere at the Forum. I want to say, like, the acoustics are really, really good. And honestly, if you guys buy like the middle or the upper deck seats, you still get a great view of that arena, because I've been to those fights before, and it's not a bad seat in the house, really.
No, the way it's designed, it still has that old school design where it doesn't have that whole suite level in between. So even if you're in the upper level, you're not far away from the ring, and so it's a great design. Like I said, the acoustics and the LA fans, they get so loud that it's a great atmosphere, great energy at the Forum.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of the StubHub Center in terms of like not any seat is actually a bad seat and everything. But Tom, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Tom Loeffler here, the managing director of K2 Promotions. His fighter, of course, Gennady Golovkin, fighting April 23rd on HBO.